Robin Roberts was doing something she'd never done in 30 years of broadcasting. She was counting. Counting the deflections. Counting the non-answers. Counting the moments when genuine human connection was offered and rejected. Counting the seconds of silence that stretched into minutes of nothing. Meghan noticed. Her smile flickered just slightly, just for a moment, but the cameras caught everything. Something in Robin's expression had shifted. The warmth was still there, the trademark compassion that had made her one of the most trusted faces in American journalism. But now it was carrying something else. Something that looked like disappointment, crystallizing into resolve. And then Robin Roberts, the woman who'd survived cancer twice, who'd made everyone feel safe, who'd never once made a guest uncomfortable on purpose, drew a line. "I need to ask you something directly," Robin said, her voice gentle but unmistakably firm. "Are you capable of having an actual conversation?" The room went cold. What Meghan said in response made the situation irretrievable. "This is the interview nobody expected. Subscribe now. Hit that notification bell. And let's see what happened." The Montecito living room had been prepared meticulously. Fresh flowers arranged in vases that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Bookshelves curated to suggest intellectual depth without appearing too studied. Lighting that suggested warmth without appearing staged. Good Morning America had negotiated for weeks for this sit-down. Robin Roberts, one-on-one with the Duchess of Sussex. It was supposed to be a coup, the kind of exclusive that defined careers, that generated headlines for weeks, that reminded everyone why Robin was the best in the business. The production crew moved quietly behind the cameras. Microphones were adjusted. Lighting was tweaked. Everything was perfect. Meghan entered camera ready in a way that felt calculated rather than natural. Her outfit was impeccable, expensive but understated, designer but approachable. Her hair was flawless. Her makeup was flawless. Her smile was present, but somehow absent. Her handshake with Robin was brief, professional, distant. "Robin," Meghan said, her voice warm but controlled. "Thank you for coming all this way. Thank you for having me in your home." Robin's voice carried its characteristic warmth. "I've always admired your work, the way you make people feel seen." "I try." Meghan's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Shall we begin?" Robin opened with something gentle, something she thought would be easy. "The wedding exclusion," she began, her voice soft. "Peter Phillips is getting married this weekend. You and Harry aren't invited. How does that feel?" Meghan's expression remained perfectly controlled. "We wish them well." "That's gracious," Robin acknowledged, leaning forward slightly. "But it doesn't answer how it feels to be excluded from a family wedding. Your children's cousin is getting married, and they won't be there. We've made peace with not attending every family event. But this isn't every event." Robin's voice was still gentle, but her eyes had sharpened. "This is a deliberate exclusion. Reports say it was to avoid a PR circus. How do you respond to being characterized as a circus?" "I don't respond to characterizations." "You've responded to many characterizations." Robin tilted her head, her curiosity genuine. "Oprah, Netflix, multiple statements. This one you're avoiding." She paused. "Why?" Meghan shifted slightly in her seat. "Some battles aren't worth fighting." "Is this a battle? Or is it just a family wedding you weren't invited to?" Robin's voice was still warm, but the question hung in the air with unexpected weight. "The framing as battle is interesting. I didn't mean." "The language we choose reveals how we see situations." Robin's voice was gentle, almost tender. "You see family events as battles. That's telling." The cameras caught everything. The way Meghan's fingers tightened on the armrest. The way her smile became just slightly more fixed. The way Robin's expression shifted from warmth to something more alert. "The UK comeback," Robin continued, changing terrain with practiced ease. "Reports say you're planning a return. That you want to show the British public what they threw away. Is that accurate?" "I'm considering attending events related to Invictus Games planning." "That's not what I asked." Robin's voice was still kind, but there was something new in it now, something that sounded almost like disappointment. The quote suggested something more pointed, a desire to prove something. Is that accurate? I don't recognize that framing. You don't recognize wanting to prove yourself to people who criticized you after everything that happened? Meghan's jaw tightened. I have nothing to prove. Then why plan an elaborate return? Robin's voice was genuinely curious, genuinely puzzled. Why coordinate with stylists for, and I'm quoting reports, the best wardrobe ever seen on a British royal? That sounds like someone with something to prove. Meghan's smile had tightened almost imperceptibly. I can't control what sources say. Sources described as friends close to you. Robin's voice was soft. Either they're misrepresenting you, or they're accurately conveying something you'd rather not say publicly. She paused. Which is it? I don't dictate what my friends say to reporters, but you could correct mischaracterizations. Robin's voice was gentle, almost compassionate. You haven't. The silence reads as confirmation. The air in the room had changed. The warmth that had characterized the beginning of the interview had curdled into something else. Something that felt almost like an intervention. Your father, Robin said, shifting terrain with characteristic gentleness. Thomas Markle. He had serious health issues recently. She paused, letting the words settle. Reports say you didn't reach out. Meghan's walls went up instantly, visibly. The shift was almost physical. Her posture stiffening, her expression shuddering, her eyes growing distant. I won't discuss my father. You've discussed him before. Robin's voice was careful, measured. The estrangement, the betrayal, the pain. Why is his health off limits? Because it's being weaponized. By whom? Robin's eyebrows rose. I'm asking if you contacted your father when he was seriously ill. That's a yes or no factual question. Silence. The room seemed to contract. The crew behind the cameras exchanged glances. The seconds stretched uncomfortably. The silence is its own answer, Robin said softly. Your father was hospitalized. You didn't call. Whatever happened between you, illness usually prompts contact, even minimal, even through intermediaries. She paused. Did you make any attempt? Our relationship is complicated. All relationships are complicated. Robin's voice was gentle but firm. My mother and I had complications. But when she was sick, I was there. That's what family does. She leaned forward. What stopped you? He's spoken to the press repeatedly. And you've spoken to the press repeatedly about him. Robin's head tilted. The traffic goes both ways. But when someone's health is at risk, most people set that aside. You didn't. She paused. Why? Meghan's face had gone red. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap, knuckles white. Robin leaned forward slightly, her voice dropping. I'm going to be direct with you, Meghan. I've survived cancer twice. I faced my own mortality. It changes how you see family conflicts. The grudges seem smaller. The connections seem more precious. She paused. Has any of what you've experienced changed how you see the estrangement? I've done extensive work on myself. Work toward what outcome? Robin's voice was genuinely curious. Continued distance? Or eventual reconciliation? Some relationships can't be repaired. Can't or won't? Robin's voice was soft. Those are different. Can't suggests impossibility. Won't suggests choice. Which is it? The damage was too extensive. Damage you've described in detail publicly. Robin's voice was careful, measured. Damage you've monetized through interviews and documentaries. At what point does discussing damage become perpetuating it? Meghan's face had gone red. I shared my experience. You shared your interpretation. Robin's voice was gentle but unyielding. Repeatedly, for profit. Your father shared his. Neither of you has moved toward resolution. But only one of you has a global platform. She paused. With platform comes responsibility. What's yours? The silence that followed was heavier than before. Heavier than any silence that had come before it. The Harper's Bazaar cover, Robin said, shifting terrain. The makeup-free photos. There was significant criticism. I can't control public reaction. But you can control the choice. Robin's voice was gentle. You chose to present yourself without makeup. Why? Authenticity. Authenticity about what? Robin's head tilted. The cover was still professionally lit, still curated, still a production. What was authentic about it? Showing that beauty doesn't require cosmetics. But the photo was still designed for maximum impact. Robin's voice was genuinely curious. The natural look was itself a construction. Doesn't that undermine the message? I was trying to challenge beauty standards. Were you? Robin's voice was soft, almost tender. Or were you trying to generate conversation? Because conversation generates engagement, and engagement serves the brand. She paused. The line between advocacy and marketing gets blurry. Everything I do gets criticized. Everything you do gets examined. Robin's voice was kind but unyielding. That's different. You've chosen a public life. Public lives get examined. The criticism you're experiencing is the cost of the platform you've built. The as-ever revelation, Robin continued, her voice shifting to something more pointed. The website glitch that showed sales figures. £26 million in fruit preserves. She paused. That's remarkable success. Why keep it secret? Business details are private. But the detail became public. Robin's voice was curious. Now it's being discussed everywhere. Wouldn't transparency have been better? Transparency about my income. Transparency about your success. Robin leaned forward. You've positioned yourself as an advocate for women in business. Sharing success stories inspires others. Hiding them raises questions. Questions about what? About why someone proud of their achievements would conceal them. Robin's voice was gentle. The secrecy suggests either the numbers are wrong, or there's something about the success you don't want examined. There's nothing to examine. Then why the secrecy? Robin's voice was genuinely puzzled. Successful businesswomen typically celebrate their numbers. You hid yours until a glitch exposed them. She paused. That's not typical. Meghan grabbed her water glass. Her hand was trembling just slightly, but the cameras caught everything. My business decisions are my own. Your business decisions become public when they involve a brand built on your public identity. Robin's voice was soft, almost compassionate. You can't separate them. The accusations, Robin said gently. Royal experts saying you're obsessed with the royal family. That everything you do is a cash grab. Exploiting your royal connection. She paused. How do you respond? Those accusations come from people who don't know me. They come from people observing your public actions. Robin's voice was careful. The Netflix documentaries about royal life. The interviews about royal experience. The book royalties. The merchandise. The brand built on being a duchess. She paused. What would you call it? I call it my life. I can't erase my experiences. No one's asking you to erase them. Robin's voice was gentle. The question is whether you're building on them or exploiting them. Every project involves royal content. Every interview returns to royal topics. If the goal was moving on, why does everything circle back? Because people ask. Because you provide material. Robin's voice was soft. You could decline royal questions. You choose not to. You could create content unrelated to royalty. You choose not to. She paused. The pattern suggests the royal connection is the product, not the person. Meghan stood up abruptly. Her chair scraped against the floor. The movement was sudden, uncontrolled. This is becoming an interrogation. Robin remained seated. Her voice was gentle but firm. This is becoming honest. You came here with talking points prepared. I'm not accepting them. That's not interrogation. She paused. That's journalism. I expected something different from you. You expected me to accept non-answers because I'm kind. Robin's voice was soft, almost sad. But kindness and acceptance of evasion aren't the same thing. I can be kind while also asking real questions. Meghan sat back down heavily. Her composure had cracked. Not completely, but enough. Enough for the cameras to capture the fissure. Ask your questions. I have been. Robin's voice was gentle. You haven't been answering them. I've asked about the wedding exclusion. You gave me diplomatic deflection. I've asked about your father. You shut down. I've asked about your business. You claimed privacy while running a public brand. She paused. None of these are answers. They're my answers. They're your avoidances. Robin's voice was soft. There's a difference. Answers provide information. Avoidances protect against revelation. Everything you've given me today protects. Nothing reveals. She paused, studying Meghan with something that looked almost like compassion. Let me try something different, Robin said softly. What makes you genuinely happy? Not proud, not purposeful. Happy. Simple, uncomplicated joy. A pause. Longer than it should have been for such a basic question. My children. What specifically about them? Robin leaned forward. This morning. Yesterday. A moment that made your heart full. Silence. The seconds stretched uncomfortably. Meghan, I've raised this question with dozens of people. Grieving people. Struggling people. People in the worst moments of their lives. Robin's voice was gentle. All of them could answer it. A specific moment of joy. She paused. The struggle you're showing concerns me. I have many moments. Then share one. Robin's voice was almost tender. Make me feel it. That's what connection is. That's what interviews are supposed to accomplish. One moment of genuine joy with your children. The silence extended. Uncomfortably, painfully. I keep those moments private. You shared an anniversary video. Robin's voice was gentle. You've done photo shoots. The privacy claim is selective. She paused. What you're protecting isn't privacy. It's access. You can't access joy on demand because you're not living it. Her voice dropped. You're performing it. Robin sat down her notepad with quiet finality. The gesture was small, but it carried weight. I need to end this interview. Meghan's head snapped up. What? I'm ending it early. Robin's voice was soft but firm. Because there's no interview to continue. I've asked about your family, your business, your happiness, your father. You've blocked every topic. I've tried direct questions and gentle ones. Nothing produces anything genuine. I've been genuine. You've been strategic. Robin's voice was gentle. Every word calculated. Every response designed to reveal nothing while appearing open. In 30 years, I've rarely encountered someone so thoroughly defended against basic human connection. You don't understand my position. I understand walls when I encounter them. Robin's voice was soft, almost sad. These aren't walls built for protection. These are walls that have become the entire structure. She paused. There's nothing behind them anymore. Just more walls. Meghan grabbed her purse. Her hands were shaking visibly now. You're joining everyone who's tried to tear me down. Robin shook her head slowly. I'm joining no one. I asked about joy and you couldn't find any. I asked about your father's illness and you couldn't access compassion. I asked about your children and you couldn't produce a single specific moment. Her voice dropped. That's not me attacking you. That's me observing someone who's lost access to their own life. I have a full life. You have a full schedule. Robin's voice was gentle. Those are different things. Life involves presence. What I've witnessed today is someone completely absent from their own experience, performing the shape of life without inhabiting it. Meghan moved toward the door. Her security team rose to attention. This will be reported as you ambushing me. This will be reported as it happened. Robin's voice was calm. I asked questions. You didn't answer them. I offered space for genuine connection. You filled it with nothing. The footage will show exactly what occurred. Edited to serve your narrative. Unedited. Robin's voice was firm. Every question, every non-answer, every attempt I made to reach you, and every wall you threw up. Viewers can decide for themselves who was unreasonable. Meghan paused at the door. Her face was flushed, her composure finally cracking completely. I expected better from you, Robin. Robin remained seated. Her voice was soft, almost tender. I expected more from you. I expected someone who positioned herself as authentic to actually be accessible. She paused. What I found was the most thoroughly produced human being I've ever encountered. Her voice dropped. And I've interviewed politicians. Meghan left. The door closed behind her with soft finality. Robin sat alone in the Montecito living room for a long moment. The crew behind the glass didn't know whether to begin packing up or wait for instructions. Through the earpiece, her producer's voice came quietly. That's never happened before. No, Robin said softly. It hasn't. What do we do with the footage? Robin thought for a moment. Then she straightened, her characteristic warmth returning to her eyes. We air it exactly as it occurred. Every question I asked was legitimate. Every non-answer she gave is documented. The public can see what I saw. She paused. Someone who's performed herself so long that there's no genuine person left to access. Someone who's built a brand around authenticity while being completely manufactured. Someone who couldn't tell me one thing that made her happy because happiness requires presence. Her voice dropped, and she's not present anywhere, not even in her own life. She gathered her notes, her expression softening. I've survived cancer twice. I know what matters and what doesn't. What I witnessed today was someone who's forgotten, or maybe never knew. She paused. Either way, it's the saddest interview I've ever conducted. Not because she was hostile I can work with. Her voice dropped. Because she was empty. The footage aired 2 days later. ABC made no edits. The clips that spread across social media captured the slow dissolution of a carefully constructed narrative. The moment Robin asked about the wedding exclusion and received diplomatic deflection. The moment she asked about Meghan's father and was met with silence. The moment she asked about joy and got nothing. Are you capable of having an actual conversation? Your father was hospitalized. You didn't call. What stopped you? Everything you do gets examined. That's the cost of the platform you've built. You can't access joy on demand because you're not living it. You're performing it. There's nothing behind the walls anymore. Just more walls. The clips went viral within hours. Commentators dissected every frame. Late-night hosts referenced it in their monologues. The phrase Robin Roberts stopped smiling trended for days. Meghan's team released a statement calling the appearance a predetermined attack masked as compassion. Robin addressed it the following morning on Good Morning America. Her voice was calm, measured, unmistakably kind. Predetermined. She shook her head slowly. I asked about her family, her business, her happiness, and her father. Standard interview topics. She couldn't engage with any of them. She paused. The attack she's describing is simply someone noticing the emptiness and naming it. She paused, looking directly into the camera with characteristic warmth. I've survived a lot in this life. Cancer, loss, fear. What those experiences teach you is that life is precious and presence is everything. Her voice dropped. What I witnessed in that interview was someone so defended against life that they've forgotten how to live it. That's not an attack. That's observation. She paused. And it's heartbreaking. For Robin Roberts, the interview became an unexpected chapter in a legendary career. Proof that even 30 years of warmth couldn't penetrate defenses that had become absolute. She had done what no journalist had managed. She had simply asked questions with genuine curiosity and watched as her guest refused to answer any of them. For Meghan Markle, it was devastating in a particular way. She'd specifically requested Robin Roberts, the kindest interviewer in television, the woman who made everyone feel safe, the survivor who understood pain and struggle. And still, she couldn't produce a single genuine moment. The carefully constructed narrative, the wounded truth-teller, the media victim, the authentic voice, collapsed under the weight of simple questions. Can you share a moment of joy with your children? Did you call your father when he was sick? What are you actually building with your platform? The answer, broadcast to millions, was devastatingly clear. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. The contrast between what Robin offered, decades of expertise deployed with compassion and genuine curiosity, and what Meghan returned, walls, deflection, and ultimately emptiness, told its own story. Robin asked about joy. Meghan couldn't find any. Robin asked about her children. Meghan couldn't produce a memory. Robin asked about her father's illness. Meghan couldn't access compassion. And in that failure, in that inability to connect with even the gentlest possible interviewer, everything anyone needed to know about what Meghan Markle had become was revealed. Some people build defenses for protection. Others build them so thoroughly they become prisons. The warden had locked herself in, and Robin Roberts had simply noticed. What happened in that Montecito living room wasn't just an interview. It was a moment of cultural reckoning, a collision between two ways of being in the world. On one side, Robin Roberts, the survivor, the empath, the woman who had faced death and emerged with deeper compassion, who understood that life's preciousness requires presence, who believed that connection is the only thing that matters. On the other, Meghan Markle, the performer, the producer, the woman who had become so thoroughly constructed that there was nothing left underneath, who had confused achievement with fulfillment, schedule with life, performance with authenticity. The interview exposed something fundamental. You cannot connect with someone who refuses to be connected with. You cannot find joy in someone who has forgotten how to feel it. You cannot access humanity in someone who has performed themselves out of existence. Robin offered decades of warmth, genuine curiosity, and the kind of compassion that only comes from surviving the worst life can offer. Meghan offered nothing. 30 years of broadcasting, the kindest interviewer in America, specifically requested by Meghan herself. And she still couldn't produce a single genuine moment. What does that tell you? Perhaps it tells us that the stories we tell ourselves can become prisons. Narratives so rigid and self-protective that they block out any possibility of growth or connection or genuine human warmth. The ability to share joy, to access compassion, to be present. These aren't frivolous things. They're the foundation of human connection. And when you lose them, you lose everything. The Montecito living room had been prepared meticulously. Fresh flowers, carefully arranged bookshelves, lighting that suggested warmth without appearing staged. But you can't stage presence. You can't fake joy. You can't perform your way into being human. Robin Roberts had survived cancer twice. She knew what mattered and what didn't. And what she witnessed that day was someone who had lost the ability to know the difference. If you want more content that recognizes performance from reality, subscribe. This is where genuine insight lives. Leave a like, it helps more than you know. More truth, more observation, more of what everyone else won't show. Stay with us. Because in the end, the most telling moment wasn't the departure. It was the silence when Robin asked about joy.